Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Mike Besoa, and I'm part of the marketing organization here at SentinelOne. Welcome to today's live demo of SentinelOne's autonomous endpoint protection platform. We have a great packed agenda today. We will start off with a couple of, a few slides on SentinelOne, just to give you guys a bit of a background on who we are and what we do. We will then go into the meat of the webinar, where we go into a nice deep dive overview of our platform. We will have some time at the end for some Q&A. And then finally, we will talk about some next steps that we believe will be good for you, available for the audience. We encourage you to actually ask questions during this webinar. What we'd like you to do is, if you could please submit these through the Q&A box. Just submit these at the very end. We'll go through all of these and go through as many of these as possible. We have a great speaker today, Marcus Weir. Marcus is a solutions engineer here at SentinelOne. He has a lot of experience in the endpoint protection space, worked for a number of very good, high-profile security companies, and is doing a great job here at SentinelOne. He's going to be taking us through the packed agenda. So with that, it gives me great pleasure to hand over to Marcus to get things going. Marcus, over to you.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate the introduction. And again, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be located. So today we're going to cover basically an overview of the product, and just give you a little more information about it so that you can, again, feel free to ask questions during this entire process. So what is the issues that are dealing with endpoint protection today and going forward into the future, right? Obviously, you need the protection, visibility, simplicity, and automation that is demanded in today's world. All right, so when you talk about protection with our platform, we have both static analysis and dynamic analysis that allows us to protect you across multiple varieties of threats as there are in today's world, which obviously would simulate the fewer breaches as noted in the slide deck here. Visibility, right? So we are able to see, since we're on the endpoint, right? We are an agent on the endpoint. We actually can see everything that happens on the endpoint prior to encryption. So we can see all the data that is going back and forth in and out of that particular endpoint, and then be able to take actions based upon that data as well. Again, it is one agent. It is very lightweight in comparison to other products out there in the world. As you can see here in our slides, we have on average, less than 2% CPU utilization. And again, it is one agent that gives you both endpoint protection and EDR capabilities. Automation, right? Automation is really some of the true benefits of the product set as well. We have an open API. You're able to integrate with your existing security stack that you have in your environment, whether that be your SIEMs, other security products in your environment, firewalls, etc. Right? You were able to do automation processes with our API to give you even faster, more secure, less manpower required types of security. And you see we are a rapidly growing company, and we've been in the Magic Quadrant for 3 consecutive years. NSS Labs gave us the top TCO per protected dollar for the endpoint protection platform scenario. So what does this really mean? What this means is we are the most secure, most cost-effective way to secure your endpoints as designated by NSS Labs. And I would encourage you to download that report from NSS Labs and go through it. And then why? Why are we able to meet these TCOs and meet these protection capabilities? Well, it's because of the real-time endpoint protection that we do. Again, there's multiple engines in the product that do pre-execution, so on disk write. So anytime a file is accessed on a disk, anytime a file is written to the disk, the static engine analyzes it and determines whether or not, using 33,000 plus heuristics and different indicators, to determine whether or not that file is a good or bad file. Right? And then on execution, which is another differentiator for us, right? So we are able to do anti-exploit. We're able to watch behaviors over time as well, right? So as attacks are more advanced, even with secure shell connections and other things that happen in the environment, right? We're able to see that behavior, and as that behavior becomes malicious, we're able to mark it, mitigate it, and protect you from it. Deep visibility. This gives us the capability, again, to see into that SSL encrypted traffic. We record every single process, every single file that is on that endpoint. And again, with that lightweight agent, we're able to see all that information and give you that out real time. Deep visibility, right? So with our latest release of 2.5, you're able to see into that information. So for example, in this particular slide, it could go and do a command line argument of show hidden. And as I would see that hidden information, that would be every single process that has a command line argument of hidden. So if I'm hiding a particular process from that end user, right, from that machine, I want to be able to do that as a hidden process. And that's something that you can go and say, hey, is this an allowed process in my environment, and why is it hidden? Am I the one hiding it as an administrator, for example, doing standard updates or something like that across my machine background? Or is this something malicious in my particular environment? So that's just an example of some of the things that we can show with deep visibility. SentinelOne Vigilance. This is an add-on service from us. What this is it allows us to supplement existing customers and or prospects with active monitoring and active response. So not everyone has the largest security SOC environment in their industry today, so we're able to supplement that and give you that SOC-like experience with a simple add-on service from us. And then finally, before the demo, we have a ransomware warranty, right? This is a cybersecurity insurance policy that we write for all of our customers. Just saying that we have faith in our product, that we're able to secure it, and if God forbid that something happened, you know, and we are unable to recover, right, we have you covered as well, right? And that's really what this is about. So with that, I'm actually going to start up the live demo here and get that running. All right. We'll be popping up here in just a second. Takes a second to buffer here. Sorry about that, guys. All right. This is the SentinelOne dashboard. This is my personal instance that you see up here. And you see that we have connected to this one 7 endpoints and etc. Right, we have an activity tab, which shows you everything that's in the environment as far as what's happened. We have an analyze tab, which shows you threats and applications by agents in the environment. Right, so this is every application in the particular environment, not just bad ones. The network tab shows you what groups that you have and what devices that you have in your particular environment. We have a standard black-white list, which is what you're probably used to. We have reports, standard reports, weekly reports, monthly reports, individual insight reports. All that information is available there as well. And then the meat of the product is really right here in the settings, which goes ahead and describes everything that's available and how you can configure it. So with that, I'm going to kind of pull back up my computer here. We'll move this over there. Sorry about that. Hope you can see it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some ransomware that I actually created today and has a brand new MD5 hash, and I'm going to basically copy that and drop that onto this particular desktop. And what's going to happen here is, as these files are written to disk, you're going to see that the bottom right-hand corner, you see the threat detected. These files are then encrypted and compressed and put into the quarantine folder on that endpoint. So then we can go back to our dashboard and say, hey, there's some threats in my environment. They've all been mitigated. Let's take a look at those and let's actually analyze what happened with this particular piece of ransomware. So you can see in here that it was a pre-execution detection. You can see that the path is right here that it was. This is obviously a VM on my computer, so it's listed there as a VM. You can see the machine name, the NAT address that is seen from the manager, the domain, usernames, agent versions, all that information is here. You can see heuristics and indicators as to what we said, right? These are just 4 of the 13 indicators that came up that said, hey, this is a bad piece of file. This is malware. Right. All that information is all listed for you right there, easily accessible. So now that I've actually analyzed and I've determined that these have all been remediated, I'm going to go ahead and mark these all as resolved. And as we do that, our screen will then refresh and we'll go, we have no infections, we have mitigated threats. We're able to kind of move on from there. So now what I'm going to do is, because it would be a really boring demo, right, if we just showed you that we could file and block everything and prevent that from occurring in your environment. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into detect-only mode. So as I'm in detect-only mode, we'll kind of go through this through the engine here, and I'll show you the other settings that are on this, right? So auto-containment, right? I can disconnect this device from the network, right? Because we work at the kernel, we can shim into the network adapter, and we only allow SSL traffic from that endpoint to the manager. Decommission, this is more about VDI and burning those off. Exclusions, right? There's multiple ways to do exclusions on our product, different ways you could do it with signers and paths and everything else that you might expect. And I have to obviously exclude my demonstration folder from being analyzed, otherwise I would never be able to create malware and show some of these testing. And then some of the on-off switches that you have down here, whether or not I want to do a full disk scan install, whether or not I want the agent UI to show on that endpoint, snapshots, etc. All that information is right there. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of TeslaCrypt malware and I'm going to dump this onto this particular desktop. And we are in alert-only mode, so we're going to get an alert that comes up down here and says, hey, we have a piece of malware on this particular environment. So that's the point that this would have been caught. But since we're doing a demonstration, we're going to allow it to run just to show you some of the other features that we have capable with the product set. So I'm actually going to double click this particular piece of malware. And again, you see these flashes down here in the bottom coming up saying, hey, this is something we see bad behavior going on. This is something we would have prevented again. But since we're in detect mode, it's going to allow it to run. So now you can see that we are fully encrypted. Right? We have to come up with our Bitcoin and get all of our pictures back, etc. All that information that may be relevant to you. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go back to the dashboard and we're actually going to analyze this particular piece of malware. So I'm going to come into here and say, let's analyze it. A couple of things you can see is this is an unresolved active threat in my environment. These are the steps that I can do. I can remediate, I can roll back, I can quarantine or kill these processes right from this screen as well. That same information there you saw before, the file name, the path, the computer, all that other information, the hashes, I can go out here and search these hashes for VirusTotal, Google, etc. And how it was detected, right? So this particular one was detected on execute because we allowed it to run. Endpoint network connection, right? This says that it calls out, and this one called out to California, United States, and to Germany as well. The attack overview, since this is a file encryptor, right? You can see that the vast majority of files or events were actually files, right? That's to be expected. You can see that 24 processes were affected, a registry key was added, and those network callouts that we kind of saw before. The raw data report here, right? So this can be downloaded into JSON or CSV and integrated into a SIM if I wanted to, sorry. I can do that manually in there, or I can do an integration into the SIM as well. And again, this goes through the files and says exactly what happened. These files were deleted, created, wrote to, etc. All that information is right here for you to actually go through and manually analyze if I wanted to, right? The processes, what they did, etc. Right? So that's all good and data in that raw data report. But let's say I'm not as educated on that as I need to be. Well, what you can do here is you can look at the attack storyline. And this is something anybody can understand, whether you're a SOC engineer or a CEO. You can understand what's going to happen from here. You can see step one is everything in Windows starts from Explorer. So you can see that this TeslaCrypt file was here. It created another version of itself. This version then created this randomly named executable, and this executable went out and started encrypting files, etc., doing all the other stuff, right? A command prompt was launched, right, to actually go out there and delete the first copy to do some obfuscation for that. And then down here we have this particular VSS admin command where it says, hey, all malware today, right, all ransomware has to go out there and delete all of your VSS shadow copies, right? So this one did the same thing. Well, it tried to. It executed this command, but we prevented that from actually happening. So the shadow copies that are on the device are still there because this was not issued from the actual device. We're able to see those and prevent that from happening. So what I'm going to do is I'll go back to here, and I'll take an action, and I'll say roll back. So when I issue that rollback command, we'll go pull up this particular device, and that's been issued, and you can see that the files will start disappearing off the desktop. The encryption will go away, and to prove it, I'll pull up a picture. I think I have a picture on here of my motorcycle. Yes, I do. There we go. So this bitmap for this is written on login. So what we'll do is we'll go here, we'll log off real quick, and we'll log back on. And now we have that fully restored desktop. So as you can see, in a matter of minutes, we've gone from having a device that is fully ransomware encrypted to a device that is back and being functional. Doesn't matter where it is in the world, right? I never left my desk. This could be across the globe. I have, before that end user actually made a call into the help desk to get something happening in the environment, you've already mitigated it and you've already got that end user back up and working. These are some of the reasons why we earned that TCO rating from NSS Labs as it was. And in here I come back in and say, yep, I've analyzed these. I agree that I have this all resolved. I simply mark them as resolved, hit the continue button, and this will refresh manually every 30 seconds, and I'll just kind of manually do it here to get that all back up and running. And we're back to that known good state. That's it really for the live demonstration. So let's get on to the questions that we may have here.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Marcus. That's a great overview of the product. We now, ladies and gentlemen, we now move to the Q&A session. We encourage you to ask questions. Please submit these through the Q&A box, and we'll get through as many of these as possible. So, Marcus, a couple of ones have come through already. What makes SentinelOne unique from some of the other players in the endpoint protection space?
Well, so we have that autonomous agent, right? So that's a single agent that we use in the environment. And what that does is it allows us to protect that endpoint no matter where it is. If I'm on an oil rig in the middle of the ocean, if I'm on a cruise ship, if I'm on an airplane, it doesn't matter where it is in the environment. I'm able to have that full protection regardless of that internet connectivity, right? So that's one of those differentiating features. Our very low usage of that CPU and memory on that. It makes us a very lightweight agent. And again, it's a single agent that does all of this and integrates all that even deep visibility into it. So those are just a couple of those differentiators.
Thank you very much. Is SentinelOne's deep visibility capabilities unique?
Yes. As of today, it is a very unique, is that we're able to see, again, because we're in that kernel, we see prior to that encryption, we're able to see what data is going to be put into there, and we can make determinations based on that.
Excellent. Another one's come through. Is forensic analysis part of the basic product?
No. So we have two versions of the product. We have Sentinel-1 Core, and we have Sentinel-1 Complete. Sentinel-1 Complete includes that deep visibility option into it, which has some advanced threat hunting and some other features in it that are, I would encourage you to reach out to your local sales team and or VAR to get more information based on that.
Okay, what version did you say the visibility tab shows up?
That is version 2.5.
Okay. Do you support mobile security?
Today, we do not support mobile devices. We do support Windows 7 and up, Macintosh, and multiple varieties of Linux, whether that's endpoint and or server.
Okay. Would your product be in place of or in addition to MS Defender, OpenDNS, Cisco Umbrella, content filter options, etc.?
So the way our agent works, we're able to cohabitate with any of those products. We are AV certified to be replacements for any of those PCI, PII, HIPAA requirements that may be out there as well. We meet full compliancy for those as well. So you can replace
Excellent.
or you can cohabitate.
Are you selling direct to business or is it channel only?
We are 100% channel. So I would encourage you to reach out to your local security VARs.
Excellent. Keep bringing them in, ladies and gentlemen. These are great questions. How does it protect based on unknown signatures or applications?
So we don't use signatures at all, right? And that's where we get into that whole behavioral heuristics, right? So within the static analysis, just like any of the other existing products in the space today, right, we're able to determine with that engine and our modeling whether or not that file is going to be malicious, right? We have an extremely low false positive rating on that. The behavioral engine in there, which is really a differentiator for us, actually watches processes over time, expects different things to happen, and then watches those and determines whether or not some of those actions are going to be malicious. For example, just opening a remote shell to an endpoint is not a malicious activity, right? You can do that today with servers and all that type of activity to actually launch updates and do GPO updates and et cetera from any particular endpoint. What is malicious is then I start doing credential scrapes and doing some other information gathering on that endpoint that isn't what I would call a standard operating procedure. And that's when we fire with that behavioral engine.
Okay, thank you. Can we set up trusted applications within the network? And how does it update when a new version is out?
Absolutely. So there's multiple ways that you can trust that application. You can trust a file, you can trust a hash. If you have your own homegrown applications and you sign them with a certificate, right, we're able to use that certificate signing authority and use that as well. So for example, if you trust Microsoft as a good applications, right, you can take that certificate from Microsoft, add that into the exclusion list, and just say everything from Microsoft is a known good application, and allow it to run. There's file-based, right, so we can do individual files as well. So.
Thank you, Marcus. There are lots of questions. You're a popular guy. Do you have a content filter? Exactly. Do you have a content filter like OpenDNS?
We do not. We are strictly endpoint protection. We don't offer any of those additional options. We are able to integrate with them via our API. So if you have OpenDNS or some of the other things that you can do, you can actually flag that information through the API and then take automated action with it. Whether, for example, if I'm using Splunk as my SIM, right, I can actually write a rule in there in Splunk to say, hey, if this, then that, and have that something be done in there as well. Like Phantom does those types of things as well, that third-party API integrator.
Okay. This might be for one of our channel team, but the question is, what is it? Do you have an MSP plan? Do you have an MSP model?
We do, actually. So we have an MSSP platform that will be coming out here in about 6 weeks to the public. It is in closed beta testing right now for some MSSPs, and that will be out to the public very shortly.
Excellent. And they keep coming through. When the system detects ransomware, will it prevent it from propagating across the network?
Yes, there's multiple ways that you can do that. For example, when I showed that disconnect from network option, that is part of it, right? So once we detect that malware, right, it'll automatically fire and disconnect that particular endpoint from the environment. You can manually do it as well if so chosen.
Excellent. And this one probably I can answer. The question is, will it be possible to download or stream a copy of this demo later so somebody else on the staff can watch it? And the answer is absolutely. We will be sending out a link to the on-demand version of this webinar within the next day or two, so please stay tuned. Okay, there are a lot more questions coming in. I think that we probably have time for maybe one or two more. Can the policies be assigned to separate groups and devices?
Absolutely. So each policy can be decided, can be defined and added to a network group. The network group is then you assign endpoints into those network groups. You can do that manually. You can do that automatically with filtering based on endpoint, whether that's, you can take AD attributes, like if it's in a computer OU, if it's a North America computer OU, East Coast, Carolinas, right? I can take that OU and assign that to a specific group or functionals groups, et cetera, right? And I can do all of those types of flags and create a filter and then put those into that specific environment. And then apply policy based on that.
Can it be rolled back? Can it roll back encrypted CryptoLocker files on mapped drives?
On mapped drives? No. So that would be where you would need to have the agent on the server as well. If the server had the agent on it, you could then use the functionality of the client to roll back on that server, but not that endpoint. And that's why we have those multiple agents for multiple types of servers, etc.
Okay. And I think this one is kind of similar. Can the Windows agent run on Windows 7 embedded?
Yes. We have different versions for Windows Embed, but yes, we do have an agent for it.
Okay, wow, there are lots coming in, which is great. Do you support CentOS?
Yes, version 5.5. I'll have to let me verify the versions numbers, but yes, the latest versions we do support.
I think finally maybe one more. How does it handle malicious encrypted files?
So as the file, so if I understand the question properly, so let's say the file is delivered to you encrypted already, or zipped, right? We can see into some of the zips, but if it's fully encrypted, until that file is actually decrypted, once that is decrypted, again, that is another disk write. So we analyze the file at that point in time to determine whether or not it's malware. So there's multiple ways to catch that particular file based on even if it is encrypted like that.
Okay, I think that's probably all we have time for. I know there are a ton more questions that we weren't able to get through to you. For those that we weren't able to answer, we will absolutely get back to you individually after this webinar to answer your questions. I know there are, for example, there was one question on who do I speak to get, because they run an MSP. Please stay tuned. We'll get back to you with that. What we'd like to do now is just talk about a little bit some next steps. You've obviously seen a good overview of our platform from Marcus. If you're interested in a one-on-one demo, for us to be able to go deep, slightly deeper dive in that, what I suggest is you can actually arrange to have a personal demo. All you need to do is go to our website, sentinel1.com, look for the Try Us button on the top right, click on that, just give some basic details. We'll be in touch with you very shortly to be able to have a deeper dive, demo and dedicated to your requirements. Also, there are a couple of collateral pieces that I definitely suggest that it's worth you reading from a follow-up perspective. The first is a data sheet on the value of SentinelOne. It's a great overview of our product. It goes through a lot of the stuff that Marcus covered today and more. And also there's another data sheet, which is SentinelOne's Endpoint Protection Deep Visibility. That's a great one as well, which goes into a little bit more detail on our deep visibility capabilities. Both of these, you can find them on our website. If you just go to the resource tab, then go to data sheets, you'll be able to see both of these data sheets there. So with that, I'd like to conclude the webinar. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to spend the last 30 minutes or so. We went through as many questions as we can. We'll absolutely follow up with you to make sure that all your questions get answered. We are running, by the way, we are going to be running these webinars, these live demo webinars every 2 weeks. So the next one will be on March 8th, 2 weeks today. Same time, 10 a.m. Pacific. The invites are going to go out for that in the next sort of few days, so stay tuned. So if there are more questions you have, if there are more deep dive components you want to see, please tune in for that in a couple of weeks and stay tuned for the invites that will be going out soon. Obviously, Marcus, I want to thank you for taking time to take us through this, hosting this webinar. Thank you, Marcus, and you audience. Thank you, and see you all in a couple of weeks, hopefully. And thank you, the audience, for taking time out of your busy day to spend the last 30 minutes with us. Take care and have a good morning or afternoon or evening wherever you are. Bye for now.